Episode 65. Nearly everyone in the wizarding world thought Sirius a dangerous murderer and a great Voldemort supporter, and he had had to live with that knowledge for 14 years. Harry blinked. He had just seen something in the fire that could not have been there. It had flashed into sight and vanished immediately. No, it could not have been. He had imagined it because he'd been thinking about Sirius.
Okay, write that down,
Hermione said to Ron, pushing his essay and a sheet covered in her own writing back to Ron.
And then copy out this conclusion that I've written for you.
Hermione, you are honestly the most wonderful person I've ever met, said Ron weakly. And if I'm ever rude to you again,
I'll know you're back to normal, said Hermione. Harry, yours is okay except for this bit at the end. I think you must have misheard Professor Sinistra. Europa's covered in ice, not mice. Harry?
Harry had slid off his chair onto his knees and was now crouching on the singed and threadbare hearthrug, gazing into the flames. Harry? Said Ron uncertainly. Why are you down there? Because I've just seen Sirius's head in the fire, said Harry. He spoke quite calmly. After all, he had seen Sirius's head in this very fire the previous year, and talked to it too. Nevertheless, he could not be sure that he had really seen it this time. It had vanished so quickly.
Sirius's head? Hermione repeated. You mean like when he wanted to talk to you during the Triwizard Tournament? But he wouldn't do that now. It would be too serious,
she gasped, gazing at the fire. Ron dropped his quill. There, in the middle of the dancing flames, sat Sirius's head, long dark hair falling around his grinning face. I was starting to think you'd go to bed before everyone else had disappeared, he said. I've been checking every hour. You've been popping into the fire every hour? Harry said, half laughing. Just for a few seconds to check if the coast was clear yet.
But what if you'd been seen? Said Hermione anxiously.
Well, I think a girl, first year by the look of her, might have got a glimpse of me earlier. But don't worry, Sirius said hastily, as Hermione clapped her hand to her mouth. I was gone the moment she looked back at me, and I'll bet she just thought I was an oddly shaped log or something.
But Sirius, this is taking an awful risk,
Hermione began. You sound like Molly, said Sirius. This was the only way I could come up with of answering Harry's letter without resorting to a code, and codes are breakable. At the mention of Harry's letter, Hermione and Ron had both turned to stare at him.
You didn't say you'd written to Sirius,
said Hermione accusingly. I forgot, said Harry, which was perfectly true. His meeting with Cho in the owlery had driven everything before it out of his mind. Don't look at me like that, Hermione. There was no way anyone would have got secret information out of it. Was there, Sirius? No, it was very good, said Sirius, smiling. Anyway, we'd better be quick, just in case we're disturbed. Your scar. What about... Ron began, but
Hermione said quickly. We'll tell you afterwards. Go on, Sirius.
Well, I know it can't be fun when it hurts, but we don't think it's anything to really worry about. It kept aching all last year, didn't it? Yeah. Dumbledore said it happened whenever Voldemort was feeling a powerful emotion, said Harry, ignoring, as usual, Ron and Hermione's winces. So maybe he was just, I don't know, really angry or something the night I had that detention. Well, now he's back, it's bound to hurt more often, said Sirius. So you don't think it had anything to do with Umbridge touching me when I was in detention with her? Harry asked. I doubt it, said Sirius. I know her by reputation, and I'm sure she's no Death Eater. She's foul enough to be one, said Harry darkly, and Ron and Hermione nodded vigorously in agreement. Yes, but the world isn't split into good people and Death Eaters, said Sirius with a wry smile. I know she's a nasty piece of work, though. You should hear Remus talk about her. Does Lupin know her? Asked Harry quickly, remembering Umbridge's comments about dangerous half-breeds during her first lesson. No, said Sirius, but she drafted a bit of anti-werewolf legislation 2 years ago that makes it almost impossible for him to get a job. Harry remembered how much shabbier Lupin looked these days, and his dislike of Umbridge deepened even further.
What's she got against werewolves? Said Hermione angrily.
Scared of them, I expect, said Sirius, smiling at her indignation. Apparently she loathes part-humans. She campaigned to have mer-people round up and tagged last year, too. Imagine wasting your time and energy persecuting mer-people when there are little toe-rags like Creature on the loose. Ron laughed, but Hermione looked upset.
Sirius, she said reproachfully. Honestly, if you made a bit of an effort with Creature, I'm sure he'd respond. After all, you are the only member of his family he's got left, and Professor Dumbledore said—
So, what are Umbridge's lessons like? Sirius interrupted. Is she telling you all to kill half-breeds? No, said Harry, ignoring Hermione's affronted look at being cut off in her defense of Creature. She's not letting us use magic at all. All we do is read the stupid textbook, said Ron. Ah, well, that figures, said Sirius. Our information from inside the Ministry is that Fudge doesn't want you trained in combat. Trained in combat? Repeated Harry incredulously. What does he think we're doing here, forming some sort of wizard army? That's exactly what he thinks you're doing, said Sirius. Or rather, that's exactly what he's afraid Dumbledore's doing. Forming his own private army, with which he will be able to take on the Ministry of Magic. There was a pause at this. Then Ron said, That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, including all the stuff that Luna Lovegood comes out with.
So we're being prevented from learning defense against the dark arts because Fudge is scared we'll use spells against the Ministry? Said Hermione, looking furious.
Yep, said Sirius. Fudge thinks Dumbledore will stop at nothing to seize power. He's getting more paranoid about Dumbledore by the day. It's a matter of time before he has Dumbledore arrested on some trumped-up charge. This reminded Harry of Percy's letter. Do you know if there's going to be anything about Dumbledore in the Daily Prophet tomorrow? Only Ron's brother Percy reckons there will be. I don't know, said Sirius. I haven't seen anyone from the Order all weekend. They're all busy. It's just been Creature and me here. There was a definite note of bitterness in Sirius's voice. So you haven't had any news about Hagrid either? Ah, said Sirius. Well, he was supposed to be back by now. No one's sure what's happened to him. Then, seeing their stricken faces, he added quickly, But Dumbledore's not worried, so don't you three get yourselves in a state. I'm sure Hagrid's fine.
But if he was supposed to be back by now, said Hermione in a small, worried voice.
Madame Maxime was with him. We've been in touch with her, and she says they got separated on the journey home. But there's nothing to suggest he's hurt nothing to suggest he's not perfectly okay. Unconvinced, Harry, Ron, and Hermione exchanged worried looks. Listen, don't go asking too many questions about Hagrid, said Sirius hastily. It'll just draw even more attention to the fact that he's not back, and I know Dumbledore doesn't want that. Hagrid's tough. He'll be okay. And when they did not appear cheered by this, Sirius added, When's your next Hogsmeade weekend, anyway? I was thinking we got away with the dog disguise at the station, didn't we? I thought I could— No! Said Harry and Hermione together, very loudly.
Sirius, didn't you see the Daily Prophet?
Said Hermione anxiously. Oh, that, said Sirius, grinning. They're always guessing where I am. They haven't really got a clue. Yeah, but we think this time they have, said Harry.